Hi everyone, welcome to the Boys Club. I'm Clarke Wolfe.
I'm Holly Payne.
And this is our true detective perspective. So we were off last week.
That's right, we had a little break.
Yes, as was True Detective, so we were off too. Holly was having her arm...
I was in the hospital.
Yeah, Holly was in the hospital.
So it wasn't so fun for me.
And I was in Toronto, and that was really cold. So really, it's just been, we've been all over. But we're happy to see you again, and True Detective is back.
Yeah.
And boy, is it back.
With a bang.
Last night's episode was bananas.
Yeah, actually, I'm getting chills even thinking about what happened last night. There was so much stuff in there that I was just not expecting at all. I just was surprised.
Well, and it was a big signal to me, too, because we're at episode 4. There are 8 total episodes. And, you know, I was expecting, from a storytelling perspective, that we were going to kind of catch up in terms of, like, we're going to maybe at one point hit present day and then keep going in present day. Exactly.
Okay.
But now that we're halfway through the series, we're still very much involved in this case that happened 17 years ago.
Interesting.
Which I like. I think is great. I wasn't expecting that.
See, I think that they're probably going to hold out for showing the present day stuff until the very end of the series. I think that they've got to really kind of dig their heels in with what's happening in the past before we can explode what's happening now.
Yeah.
But there were so many interesting things that happened. I mean, for example, Rust this particular time was just a lying sack, pretty much. Like, everything he said was a lie. You know?
He plays the game. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I think he is a, pardon the pun, but true detective. I mean, it's like he knows what he has to do to get the job done. In my opinion.
Okay, I have a different opinion.
Okay, what is it?
My opinion is that he was planning to get back into undercover a narc situation so that he could start doing drugs again. And that, I think that was a plan of his. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the leukemia story about his dad, which they found out later wasn't true. There was no record of that. So I think, and he was planning his leave. All of this was kind of lining up. Now, maybe he wants to get deeper in. But at the same time, I think that it's two-sided. If it's anything, it's two-sided.
Now, here's something I noticed, because the Yellow King got mentioned again last night. Yeah. We didn't really dive into that.
Carcosa.
Yes, yes, and that is, So, it did dawn on me again that a common theme kind of throughout the short stories of the Yellow King is, especially in one in particular, is this untrustworthy narrator.
See, now you've read it and I haven't.
Yes.
So
and
clue me in a little bit.
Well, basically, that's kind of one of the... It's also very, very Poe in that way. You know, that was a big thing, is like, can you trust this narrator who's telling you this story?
Right.
And in one of the stories, in the Yellow King in particular, you absolutely cannot trust. He's the one I mentioned last week, fell off his horse in the military service. He's never been quite right since. He was institutionalized. Very similar to Rust Cole.
Yeah.
In that, you know, working in law enforcement, he's been institutionalized.
Broken.
Exactly. Right. And but he is an untrustworthy narrator in the Yellow King, and so this was the first time where it popped back up again, and I thought, geez, I wonder if we can even trust anything that Rust says.
Can we trust anything Rust says or Marty says?
I don't know.
At this point, I don't see. I mean, the last 2 weeks ago when we saw episode 3, I was kind of sympathizing with Rust, and I was like, boy, this guy's been through a lot. But after seeing this episode and all of the lies that he's told throughout this particular episode, and they were many, you know, there were so many, like, I don't even know if the story about him, it was a gruesome story he told about the drug cartel that he used to, he was involved in revealing, I guess, pulling that, duct taping and then skinning your face off, and I don't even know if that was... I don't know if that was real.
Or if he was trying to freak Marty out. I don't know. Now, there is something... I do still maintain that with Cole, I don't believe that he is sinister. I'm not seeing that sinister side of him.
I see broken. I see...
Sure.
No, I don't know if I see sinister either.
But with Marty, I do see more of I don't trust that guy, but for different reasons.
Right.
I see him as more aggressive and threatening in a bad way.
Here's the way I kind of perceive it. I think that Rust is much more self-flagellating. He's much more... He does not trust anyone in the world. There's no reason. He said it himself. There's no reason for men and women to get together except to have kids. He's he's given up on humanity.
Right.
On the flip side, Marty kind of doesn't have any guilt,
Mm-hmm.
So it's projected outward as opposed to
much
inward.
like a sociopath, no guilt.
See, I still don't buy that. I'm not in that camp. Can't go there. I still can't go there. I think he's kind of too stupid for that, to be honest with you. I don't think he's smart enough.
We'll see.
I don't think he is. I think that, he gets fucking drunk. Excuse me. He's drunk. He's drunk driving.
They watch the show. They've seen and heard worse.
Yeah. He's drunk driving. He's like, not that that's like a minor thing, but
sure.
he goes on impulse. He's going to have to switch gears now that his whole marriage is broken up, and he's going to have to kind of dig his heels in with the case again. But he's doing it in such a haphazard way. He's going to get whatever he can get out of it,
mm-hmm.
because he doesn't have the rush of the affair anymore, and he doesn't have the rush of, so he's got to find an outlet.
Did you notice how when he was being questioned, when Marty was being questioned, he loosened his tie? Like, he clearly, to me, that signified, I'm getting nervous.
Oh yeah,
I'm getting.
Did you notice when Cole rolled his eyes when he was talking about the leukemia? Of course, it was such a tell. It was a very obvious tell. He was talking about when he said I took a leave of absence, because they said, well, you just found a suspect. Why would you take a leave of absence? He's like, well, he had leukemia. And it's very obvious he's not telling. Neither one of them are telling the truth. There was a point, maybe you can refresh my memory. There was a point when the two investigators who were interviewing them said something about, what was it? It was something about, oh gosh, now I've totally lost my train of thought. It was something about when Rust was, no, it was when Marty was, basically they said that they were looking for answers, and he said, how many answers have you gotten? And they said, well, we only have one so far. And I was wondering what they were culling together when they were asking them what.
I think the thing with this show is that we're not getting it all in linear. So to keep up with all of, I've said this before, this is going to be a show when the final credits roll on the last episode, we're going to all probably collectively go, okay, got to watch it all over again.
Yeah.
And so to me, with those little details, it's hard. It's hard to keep up with all of that stuff. So, I mean, I couldn't even begin to know what they're referencing.
All right, let's talk about Reggie Ledoux. What do we know about Reggie Ledoux so far?
We know that he's a bad guy. Well, we know he's a drug guy. We know he's a drug. He's making meth. That's kind of what I gathered, and he's a nefarious character. But I mean, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything spectacular or special about what we found out about Ledoux, unless I missed something.
No, I thought it was pretty benign. It felt like another perp that they're looking for. It didn't feel like it was it was any big piece of evidence towards the case.
Mm-hmm.
What they were more telling us was, okay, now we're going to see the transformation of Rust going full druggy.
Yeah.
And that was pretty brutal.
That was. Let's talk about. Okay, so that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about the last scene. So if you haven't caught up, I don't know why you're watching this, but don't watch anymore, because it's not necessarily a spoiler, but it was the final scene of last night's episode, and it was unbelievable.
It was incredibly well shot.
The director of the episode is Cary Fukunaga, and we looked it up on IMDb. He is scheduled to direct he's credited as the director on the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. So he will be the director for the next couple of episodes.
So if you like this last episode, we're going to look forward to more, hopefully more of that style.
That final sequence, Holly, you said you timed it, right?
I clocked it at almost 6 minutes.
6 minutes. It looked like it was a single take.
It did.
I mean, who knows? It's probably rope style. They probably found some little sneaky edits here or there. But regardless, I mean, whoa! Holly and I were talking before we started recording. It was so cinematic in the way that it was executed, and it was just unbelievable. All of the moving pieces that went into that. I mean, truly fantastic filmmaking.
From room to room to inside, outside.
If he does not win the Emmy,
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh God! I mean, being right there with it, and then they get in the car and they go. Gosh, it was just fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And
not where I thought it was going. So we were building up to something, but I certainly didn't expect it was going to be a build up to him actually leaving with them and, kind of disappearing.
Well, yeah, and another thing that you and I had talked about was up until this point, I feel like that it has been a real character study. True Detective has been a true character piece and very dialogue heavy, and you know, the camera work has been, you know, pretty stationary.
Yeah.
I mean, and not to discredit any of the direction of the last 4 episodes.
No, but it has been dialogue heavy.
And yes, and this was just, I mean, this was a true
and there wasn't much dialogue.
No,
it was pretty much, you know, as fluid as they could make it. From room to room, inside, outside, just, you know, washing over you, you know? It was
unbelievable.
Yeah, and we did some research, as we said. So we found out this director, Fukunaga, I think, he had directed Jane Eyre, but the really exciting thing we found out is that he is going to be possibly directing the 2 feature It remake.
Stephen King adaptation.
Stephen King's It.
So that's really exciting. And it's Fukunaga. Yep.
Yes, okay.
And that's super exciting. I mean, aside from Jane Eyre, not a lot of feature credits to his name, a lot of shorts.
Yeah. He's got flair, we can tell that.
Good gracious. Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, if you want to talk about directing the actors, I mean, the acting that came out of this episode I thought was fantastic. I mean, I'm a huge McConaughey fan, as you all know, and as I've talked about many times before, and I've been a fan of his for a long time, and always felt that the criticism that came his way was not fair.
Well, he was picking really crappy projects for a long time.
But he was always very good in them.
He was great. It's just that when you have an actor of his caliber, I don't think you want to see him in a Jennifer Garner rom-com. Right. You know? I mean, some people do, but he's capable of so much.
Well, diverse. That's kind of the takeaway for me, regardless of like the idea that, you know, it's a rom-com or you could be doing this or you could be doing that. I mean, he's able to carry and execute a lot of different roles.
Yeah, sure.
But that being said, last night I just was like, can Matthew McConaughey win every award ever? Like,
yeah, as long as he keeps his speeches short. I don't know. Kate Blanchett might have an issue with that.
Well, I just felt like he the change between Cole present day and Cole when he's on the narc, you know, track.
He's still lying about this. That's what really got me is that that Rust is still lying about his father having leukemia, and they've done their homework. They know there's no record of his father having leukemia, so we don't know why he would lie about that. But also, he's a cop, so why would he think that there wouldn't be evidence of his father?
Maybe they'll address that.
I hope
in the future episodes. I'm sure they will. I have a feeling that we're headed to a place where a lot of stuff is going to get brought out on the table.
Well, I think True Detective so far has kind of it's exhibited itself as a show that is going to, if it doesn't pay off, if all of these things that are being set up are not paid off to the audience is going to be pretty disappointed.
Sure.
So, because it's not a show that condescends to its audience.
No, not at all.
So, you know, that's why I know so many people who are watching the show and watch it more than once.
Yeah.
Just to see if they've missed anything. So I don't think that they're gonna drop the ball on that. I think they're gonna keep it going.
So to wrap up, what do we think we're gonna see? We're gonna see next. We know that Cole's got his drug guy with him. Yeah. Marty and Rust have this guy in their possession. And where do you think it's going?
I think we're gonna see a real downward spiral and we're gonna get into the deep swamp stuff now. I think we're gonna see a downward spiral for Cole. I think that he's gonna. I mean, he's already done coke from the evidence room. He's, you know, he's already doing drugs. So I think we're gonna see a real downward spiral, and I want to see how that affects the case, because maybe he'll be so embedded at this point that it'll be hard to extricate himself from that situation.
That's a good point.
Having the access to the drugs, you know, once you're hooked, you're hooked. So, you know.
I also think that I think we're going to see a lot more from Marty. I think that Marty's temper is really going to get the best of him.
I meant to say something. One of the things about Marty that I noticed this episode.
Yes.
We were talking about previous episodes. We were talking about his affair with her name. The lady.
I don't know.
Boobs. And I think that something really bad is going to happen there.
Yeah. I think he's going to kill her.
I think he's going to kill her too.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to kill her too.
That's not funny. Sorry.
No, it's not funny. I think his temper is going to get the best of him, and I think he's going to kill her. But I don't think it's part of the ritualistic whole big broader picture of the whole thing. I don't think he's the killer. But I think he is a violent
is a killer.
Yeah, I think he's a killer.
Okay.
But yeah.
We'll see how it all turns out. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a great True Detective episode last night. Definitely catch up with the show if you haven't seen it yet. Thanks so much for watching. Yes.
And also follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Holly K. Payne, Payne.
And I am at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolfe with an E.
You can also follow the Boys Club at Welcome to TBC on Twitter as well.
That's right.
We will see you next week.
Yes, we sure will. Thanks for watching.